Well, your coffee cup has hockey on it. That's appropriate.
Because Canada.
Because Canada. Mike, we're back for another Mike and Jay Talks About. I don't think have we done one of these since Dinner in America? I don't know if we have.
I don't think so. These are far and few between. Because rarely does a movie come out that you and I are both like, hey, that was really good.
Yes, and no one's talking about it.
And no one's talking about it.
That was the thing with Dinner in America, which is very different now. Yeah. It's kind of nice since we did that video. It's had like a second life. They're doing theatrical screenings of it, revival screenings. Kyle Gallner and Emily Skeggs, right? Mm-hmm. And Adam Reiniger are going to showings. They're doing Q&As. It's nice to see it. You know, we're not going to take complete credit for that or anything, but it is nice that we could get the word out on a movie that nobody was talking about a couple years ago.
Yeah, it died during COVID. It made $1,000 in the Netherlands and just vanished off the face of the earth.
A true cult movie, which doesn't really happen much anymore.
And it deserves to be.
Oh,
because it's a fun, batshit, swear-filled, vulgar punk rock epic. It's a good screening movie, you know?
Oh, sure, yeah. This movie we're here to talk about today, equally underseen, but probably would not make for a great hootin' and hollering theatrical experience.
No throwing spoons at the screen in this one.
No.
Maybe dead fish or bees. Yeah.
Speaking of under the radar, because this is like the type of movie that's right up my alley. I hadn't even heard of it. You recommended it to me.
It was one of my Fandango discoveries, and interestingly enough, I think it came out last year. The IMDb credits it as 2023. We're going to talk about
like festivals and stuff.
Yeah, it's festivals. It was in TIFF. It was in some bigger festivals, and this lifespan of it from birth to death, I guess, currently. Perhaps rebirth.
We'll fix that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll get 10 people to watch it.
The two guys.
It's on fucking Tubi. You can watch it right now with some ads for toothpaste in the middle of it, but it's free.
Yes, the two guys sitting in a freezing cold warehouse in Milwaukee with a Darth Vader who has a chicken on his head will fix the KingTide movie. Sadly, that's probably a pretty true statement.
I mean, the movie did make $16,000 in Russia. It's a hit everywhere. It's across the globe.
Well, let me tell you about my KingTide voodoo history here, because I discovered this movie. The poster is terrible. That's on Voodoo. A lot of times I'll click on the poster, I'll look at the movie info, and I've mentioned this before. If there are no photos of the cast, red flag. And then now I can scroll further down and see who the distributor is. And when I see Uncorked Entertainment.
Yeah.
Or
Gravitas is, of course, but they kind of do a lot of stuff.
Gravitas is they have a lot of movies.
They take everything, so the quality varies a lot.
There's Brentwood Home Video. There's a lot of bad ones, but
who distributed this?
This is Vertical.
Oh, okay.
At one point, the production company is Woods Entertainment in Toronto.
Okay.
The distributor is Vertical Entertainment. Although now I found something called VVS Films, which has actually some good movies. There's this Opus movie coming out with John Malkovich.
Oh, yeah.
And then Death of a Unicorn, but they have collaboration with A24. So the bottom of the poster says VVS and A24. And on the bottom of one of the posters, it lists the probably production companies that are associated with the movie, and there's probably 15 of them. And it's one of those Canadian movies where it's like funded by the National Canadian Endowment of the Arts.
Yeah.
And then it's like 15 other movie companies. I don't know how they do movies up there. It's just a big slush fund of companies. And then when the movie comes out, they make a fucking fantastic movie, and then it comes out and they just like fall.
It's tangled in a web of like who's distributing it where. I don't know.
It's like when just a giant fat person gets out of a minivan. It's just face plants on the sidewalk.
It's Kevin with the chili.
At least once a year, I like to bring in some of my Kevin's famous chili. I'm serious about this stuff.
That 700-pound dwarf took a lot of time to get in that minivan and drive all the way to their doctor appointment. buckle up, they put on their comfortable pants, and then the second they got out of the minivan, they just face planted on the ground,
And died.
and died.
Yeah.
And then also made $13,000 in Russia while doing it. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. We're going to talk about the KingTide, but this is a Mike and Jay Talks About, so we're not going to spoiler it up. We're going to leave you with probably just as much information as provided in the trailer.
Isla isn't just a gifted child.
See you, Ned.
Many thanks to you, Isla. She's much greater than that.
Many thanks to you, Isla.
I haven't watched the trailer, but I will say, yes, wholeheartedly recommend this movie. I thought it was fantastic. But I made the mistake. I looked on Rotten Tomatoes. I didn't read full reviews. I was just like, I wonder what the score is. And it's like 97% or something. Not a ton of reviews, but the very first critic blurb I read, it didn't spoil anything, but it heavily hinted at the kind of tone the movie would go in as it goes along, to the point where when I was watching it, I had that in mind. So I was like, okay, now I know kind of, I could piece together where it was going very easily just based on the blurb of what kind of ending it has.
Okay.
So don't read any reviews. Go watch the movie. Go in blind. It's not like a twist and turn kind of movie, but it is a movie that has a very specific tone to it.
It's not even like an M. Night kind of twist movie where
No.
if you watch the movie and the twist is revealed, it's ruined. It's a slow burn. I always say I really like movies where characters are kind of just trapped in a situation and they have to figure their way out, and you're along for the ride. And I also like movies or shows where it's about sort of like the collapse of a society or group based on an external influence, threat, discovery, whatever the case may be. So you got things like, then this is what I compared this to when kind of selling it to you, because I watched it. I'm like, that was fucking great. I loved it, and it was marvelous. Jay, watch this. It's very similar to Midnight Mass, The Mist, Lord of the Flies. Just where a group of people who are on basically an even playing field, a society that's functioning normally, is thrown into chaos by an external force, and you start to see people who show their true colors, be it evil, selfish, heroic, selfless, and then the society starts to fractalize and turn against each other, and you have all these things that happen where you're just going along going, what kind of person would I be in this situation? It's The Mist.
Well, I will say then, because you're already turning some people off when you compare it to The Mist or Midnight Mass, because there are people that...
Why?
Well, you and I love Midnight Mass. We did a whole video about it. But there are those people that don't like how kind of overwritten it is.
Right.
The heavy monologues, it's very theatrical. I like that style in that show. This is almost like the anti-Midnight Mass in that everything is so understated.
It's a very good point to make.
It's very like, it gives you just enough information for you to understand what's happening without anything being over-explained, no long exposition scenes. It feels very like natural and understated.
That's a good point. Midnight Mass is a bit, I wouldn't say overwritten, but people...
But that's a complaint people have. They don't like the monologues.
Yeah.
And I like the monologues. I like the dialogue in it, but I get it.
It's a Stephen King work that's incredibly subtle. Because, Stephen King can get a bit cartoonish. In The Mist, the characters are a bit like, they're archetypes. They're very over the top. And it's those characteristics are very, very subtle, but there. That's a very good point.
The tension in this comes from how cordial everyone is to each other.
Yeah.
No one's like flipping out.
Yeah, there's no overacting or giant emotional scenes. It's very, very underplayed.
Where does everyone fall on this sort of moral dilemma issue that the town is faced with? I'm hesitant to even call it a horror movie. It's more of like a drama with a mild supernatural element to it.
Yeah.
That has some tension towards the end.
Yeah, that's why I compared it to something like a Lord of the Flies, where it's
Yeah.
like, you got all the boys on the ship that crash, and they're all just school kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you're faced with something, that's more dramatic, of course. That's life and death. This
Right.
is a little different, so it's again more underscored or subtle.
Yeah.
But so that's the kind of movie it is. If you want to see some really great performances, some like creepy atmosphere, just nice slow burn movie that you're going to enjoy, watch it. If you want to watch the trailer first, if you still don't trust us, I mean, who wouldn't trust a guy who has a Darth Vader with a chicken head on him behind him? I sure would. We don't know why that's there.
Did it move?
I certainly hope not.
Isla, help! Isla!
The premise is simple. There's a small fishing village on a remote island off the coast of Canada. They don't necessarily say where it's at.
It was shot in Newfoundland.
Yes, it was shot in Newfoundland.
Well, I'll say right off the bat, because I didn't even watch the trailer. So when the movie started, beautiful cinematography, all these great landscape shots of this little seaside village. And I thought for sure the moment someone opened their mouth, they were going to have like a British accent or a Kiwi accent.
Irish.
Or something.
You thought they were going to go, how's the potato crop
Exactly.
this year?
I thought for sure, because I was like, this does not feel like an American movie. This feels like, it's way too simple and way too subdued.
Way too
and
classy
the score is very classy. So yeah, I thought for sure that's what I was getting into.
Well, it had that European look.
Yeah.
The gray skies and the filthy, dirty mountains with no vegetation on them.
Yeah.
The depressing look, and that's kind of the look of the movie is depressing. It's the cinematography is very dark.
It's dark, but not in a bad way.
Okay.
Like we've talked about this before, but a lot of modern movies, the cinematography I feel is awful. It's this modern trend of trying to light things where they look real. So you end up with everything just being like dark and muddy. I recently watched The Wolfman, which I do not recommend, but all the night scenes in that are just murky. It's like they're scared to have like hair lights because there wouldn't be like, a hair light in real life. It's a movie, it's an art form. There's not score in real life either, but there's score in movies. It's okay to light your scenes.
We may have made this joke before, but imagine the ending of the Titanic.
Oh yeah.
I think we've talked about that, where after the lights go out in the ship and it has sunked. There is no moon out that night, and they're in the middle of the Atlantic. The only lights come from stars. It would be pitch black.
Yes.
So there's this like bright blue on everybody because it's cold and night.
Right.
And it's like,
And it's a movie, and you want to see what's happened so you can experience the emotions of the characters.
Winning that ticket, Rose, was the best thing that ever happened to me. It brought me to you.
So you have this remote fishing village. I don't know how many people are there, 50, 25. They've vowed to just live on this little island. They're not like Amish or Mennonites or anyone. They have electricity, but they've sworn off like communication with the outside world. No TV, obviously no cell phones, and they've vowed to have a simpler life. Fishing, living in their little houses. There's not even an overt or strong like religious theme.
No.
I don't even know if they show a church. I think they do, but it's not a big component because that plays into the theme of the movie. The mayor and his wife are the main characters, and the wife's mother, coincidentally, played by Frances Fisher from Titanic.
Yeah.
The mom from Titanic, if you don't know who that is. She has like dementia, Alzheimer's. She's kind of like catatonic almost in the beginning, and then the thing that changes the course of the plot is they discover that a boat has washed up shore, upside down, and they hear a baby crying in it, and they go to rescue the baby, and the mayor goes under the boat. He cuts his stomach on probably a rusty nail or something, rips his stomach up, he's bleeding, but he finds this baby. When he picks the baby up, the proximity of the baby to him heals his wound. and she grows up on the island. We flash forward 10 years?
10 years, yeah.
And her name's Isla, Island, and she can heal you.
You don't even have to do anything. You just have to be near her.
So that, yeah.
It's not like an X-Men like superpower.
No,
you touch somebody.
she doesn't
and they
have to
heal.
learn anything. It's just a natural ability of hers. So the town sets up a little house, and she has a tent, and she just reads a storybook to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you could come in with a hangover, which the characters do.
Yeah.
And just hang out with Isla for 5 minutes and you're cured, or even you get your face punched in, because they have a little fight club that happens at night. They beat each other up, and I gotta go see Isla, and they go hang out with Isla, and then
The idea at this point now, the idea of like injury or death is almost like a joke. Like it's not a concern to this little village anymore.
You know, it wavers between like, you know, she's there to help them maybe, or are they starting to exploit her and deny her of a real childhood and a real life? At what point is the breaking point? Because when she's a little kid, it's great. She's sitting in a tent, she's reading books, she's happy, she's content, but at some point you can't make someone your tool or slave.
Slave, essentially, yeah.
And it starts, that's where the movie becomes interesting, is when it starts to get to that point. Because like Frances Fisher's there, and she has been cured of her dementia. She's got pep. She's not catatonic. She's happy, and it's just her proximity to Isla. And they all say, that's when the creepiness starts, when they say, thanks be to Isla.
Yeah, it's almost like a cult, yeah.
It's cultish, it's plays on religion, utopianism. There's all sorts of bigger themes going on. And then you get into the characters, and
I will say, when it started, I had trouble keeping track of all the male characters, because they're all shaggy dark hair with mustaches, as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, I suppose.
You get used to it after a while, but it was like, wait, is that the dad, or is that who's that? A little bit of that.
Yeah,
and they're all wearing flannels.
Bobby is the mayor, his wife is Grace. Grace's mother is Frances Fisher. So she's conflicted too. Frances Fisher eventually becomes the crazy lady from The Mist. Essentially, they start having secret nighttime meetings, and that's the kind of stuff I love.
Yeah.
Is when people start showing their true colors or motivations based on either greed, self-preservation.
Well, that's where the moral part comes in. It's like, are they doing this out of greed? Are they exploiting this child for their own selfish needs? Or is it, from their mindset, part of like the greater good of the community, of their little the little environment they've built for themselves on this island?
Right. It's the idea of a commune.
Yeah.
And the greater good versus the individual. But there's some other things that happen with some other characters. People might want to leave the island, and then they have an agreement. So yeah, cultish, commune, religion. They've all kind of had an agreement. They've been on the island a while, and then a monkey wrench is thrown into it that disrupts their life, and drama happens. And who is Isla? Where did she come from? A baby on a boat.
That's all you need.
It's a mystery.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad they didn't delve into any of that. It's just this little girl shows up, this little baby shows up, she has powers, and we're off.
Yes.
Because where she comes from doesn't matter. How she got the powers or why she has it doesn't matter.
Right. So there it is. We both loved this movie. Like you said, it's not Dinner in America. It's not going to play in theaters again. Now, an interesting thing, too, let's talk about its distribution.
Yes.
Multiple accolades from film festivals. And then it appeared on my radar on Vudu with a god-awful poster.
It's like it makes me think of like Candyman, all the bees. There is an aspect to the movie involving bees, but it's not like a killer bee movie.
Right. And I'm like, just what were you thinking?
Yeah.
And maybe just trying to just evoke the horror nature of it and try to get people to click on it. But it really was a turnoff for me, because I looked at it and it looked cheap.
Well, if you go into it expecting a horror movie, then you'll be horribly disappointed.
Yeah.
What are you up to?
Go and see what Junior's doing.
Okay.
Because it's not scary.
Yeah. The poster is just like the close-up of the girl's face with just bees all over it, which doesn't really happen. And so I was like, oh, this looks cheap. But then I watched it and I was like, oh, you know, the cinematography's great. There's real actors in it. It looks classy. It looks intriguing. And this poster is awful. Whoever made that poster should be fired from their... Oh, wait, an AI made that poster. Sorry. Then I discovered posters that were classy posters, where it's like there's a baby, and then there's like a bunch of hands all around the perimeter of the poster, like reaching towards the baby.
Okay.
And I discovered two versions of that. One where it was very bright and evenly exposed, and then one where it was dimmed up to make it look a little creepier. And I'm like, that's a great poster. I also found a poster that says a Max original. So that could be like...
Maybe at one point it was going to be distributed by Max, and then David Zaslav said, no, throw it in the garbage.
You want $50 for this? No. Or it was Max in Canada?
Maybe. This is the problem with movies now. Who owns it? Where can you watch it?
Yeah, and why the different posters? Was the first poster like the original distributor, and then they made this poster and they said, okay, well, no one wants this, let's sell it to Vertical, and then we need a poster for this, but you can't use the one we made, so we have to whip something up quick.
Yeah, make it look like a horror movie so people will actually click on it.
Ask Rock to make a poster. Yeah, make it look like a horror movie, a kid and the bees. What happens in the movie? I don't know, a girl has bees? I barely watched the trailer. Rock, girl has bees on her face. I don't know. It's kind of mysterious, and I'm super curious about this stuff because I think, and this is marketing 101, but consistency, message and consistency are important in selling a product. You don't want confusion in a consumer marketplace. You don't want utter, like, what, is this the same movie? What? And in this day and age, this kind of movie probably wouldn't be in a movie theater. It would probably die in a movie theater.
Yeah, unless it got picked up by A24. Them and Neon are like the only ones getting movies like this, really kind of minimal movies.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, if A24 picked this up and recut the trailer with
the latest boring film from A24. It says that in the trailer. That's the thing, though. It doesn't have that hook. Like A24 movies, yeah, a lot of them are very kind of minimal, stripped down, but there's usually some sort of hook to them. Some sort of, like, it gets crazy in the last 2 minutes or something. And this movie is so simple.
What do you mean? There's tons of hooks in this movie. Oh, just kill me. But if A24 took this and marketed it and put it in 3,500 screens, you know, they'd have done better.
Deserves better than Tubi.
There you go.
That's the tagline. Put that on Rotten Tomatoes.
Deserves better than Tubi. Yeah, that's our Mike and Jay talk about for the KingTide.
Now you know about it.
Now you know about it. If you're looking for a good slow burn horror,
this is a great like rainy evening movie. Put on your favorite sweater or flannel.
It's a good winter movie.
It's good, yeah, good. It's cold outside.
Yeah.
Put on a fire.
Open a bottle of wine. Sit down and turn all the lights off and watch the KingTide. Is Colin in there?